So we're going to use the retractable utility knife here, which has a very, very sharp point and tip. And for safety, we're going to bring it back to only that far out. That way, if it does slip, I lose control of it, and I do end up cutting myself. It's going to be a very shallow cut versus a very deep cut. Okay, so... Okay, now, this hand I keep behind where I'm cutting and in the opposite direction of the direction that I'm drawing the knife. And, oh yeah, this is cutting much better. Okay. Alright, now, instead of trying to cut in one deep cut, do it twice. Just pushing gently each time, and a third time if you need to. And again, with this brittle wire, I'm going to get the pliers and see what's going on here. Basically, this wire inside this pipe in the hot summertime, this wire is like in an oven. So all of the plasticizers that keep it soft and flexible have basically been cooked out of it. And the other thing is, it's also, oh that's right, there's also what they call underground sheath cable that the two leads are encased inside of individual. There's the ground wire coming up through the bottom. Forgot about that. I wasn't expecting to see this because of the age of the installation. But apparently they didn't run a conduit or anything, and this cable here is actually a cable that can be buried underground, which will make it easier now that I know what we're dealing with. Okay, we're going to turn this way. And we're going to cut it down the spine here. If you can see, there's a little bit of a rib. That's where this ground conductor goes in. So I'm going to score along that rib very carefully. Okay. Now I'm able to peel the ground conductor out, and I should not do. Okay. All right. Now, after setting the knife down, pull the ground conductor out of here, and okay. With the diagonal cutters, we're going to nibble down through the center of this, being careful not to damage either the hot or the neutral wires. So, basically, I get in line here with the center. There we go. Now I can peel it. Okay. Because if this was not old cable, I wouldn't be able to do this. Pull it by hand, I'd have to actually cut. Okay. Now we've got a good separation between our conductors. And the next thing we're going to want to do is clean these. Because the copper is oxidized. It'll still make contact, but it'll make a better contact if we clean them. So I'm just going to wire brush them. You could use Scotch-Brite pads. Those work really, really good. Steel wool or even sandpaper. But I just want to clean them, get any corrosion and oxidation, or the worst of it off anyway. Okay, there we go. Next, we have here a little packet that's got 3 sheet metal screws, for putting the housing on and to rewire nuts. Now, when we get to doing this, there's two schools of thought on using the wire nuts. Some people tend to wrap electrical tape around them, which in some places it's very advisable. It helps to make sure, keep them secure, what have you. However, in an exterior application, wrapping it with electrical tape is going to give the potential, if they get wet, the moisture is going to be trapped in here and it's going to cause electrical problems. Okay, so we're going to go just the good old-fashioned way, unlike the way it was. Well, yeah, that was the old. We're going to forego using any electrical tape on there and just make sure that they're good and secure. Okay, now I have stripped these back to give me a little bit more wire to work with. Okay, to wrap around. Okay. Now, see this? This one here is the black one. This is the hot one. And that provides power to the center pin on the lamp socket. Okay. So, temporarily for a short, you can actually hold it up. This is a light enough fixture. You can hold it up by the wire. If it was a heavier fixture, you'd want maybe an extra hand to hold the fixture while you connect the wiring. Okay, now starting down as far as I can, simply wrap the wire around. Now you notice we've got quite a bit left over. We don't want or need that. So if I had a tool belt, these would be on my belt. But anyway, so we're going to snip this. Okay, cut that short. And just kind of supporting the lamp with my chest. We're going to screw the wire nut on. And you screw it on basically until it's tight, and you're pushing inward so that you want to make sure that there is no bare wire showing or accessible. And once this is totally tight, you now have those two wires crimped very well together. Okay. Now we take the neutral and we do the same thing. And I typically, when I work, I usually always work from hot to neutral. Okay. Doesn't necessarily, you can just go white to white, black to black. I always tend to start with the hot lead and then put the neutral or ground on. Alright. Again, just put that on there, tighten it up. It's tight. Take our ground wire. And you can always tell the ground wire because it's just a bare copper wire. Sometimes, in some cables, it'll be green. It'll have a green insulation on it. So that's basically your codes. Green is for ground, black is hot, and white is cold or neutral. And if this were a higher voltage line, such as a 220, there would be a third wire which would be red, which would also be hot. So you'd have two 110 volt hot lines. Oh, look at that. The brittle wire broke up inside here. Okay, now we'll see if this will work here. I got long nose, needle nose. Nope. Alright. I didn't notice any nicks in the wire, but it just must be that end of the wire was pretty brittle. It's only a 14 gauge wire, which is not very hefty, but it done broke off. Okay, well, okay, being the ground, I wasn't able to get that broken piece of wire out of the nut, so that nut is shot. But being the ground, I'll just reuse one of the old ceramic wire nuts that was actually on here, which a ceramic wire nut gives an idea of how long ago this was installed, because they haven't been used since probably the 50s, sometimes maybe the 60s if somebody had some still kicking around. Okay, alright, so give a little tug. All of these are quite secure, and now we can actually do one more step, and this is something that I tend to do for safety. You've got, this is the hot, this is the neutral, and this is the ground. Now we want as much distance between these as possible. So now I've moved the connections. I can't pull it up far enough, but the wire nut on the hot lead is down here. So when I push this down inside here, we have a bit of a separation between the hot and the neutral and the ground. The neutral and the ground are essentially inside the panel box. When we get into doing that, you'll see that the ground and the neutral actually attach to the same bus, the same contacts. So, alright, now we got this on here, and before I continue and drill some holes and screw this on and put the cover on, we're going to test this. Okay, we're at a point where we can test it. I'll be right back. Alright, so we see that the fixture is working. So now it's time to just button this all up. We got 3 holes here, and we got sheet metal screws, so we're going to have to drill the holes to secure it so it doesn't wobble or get easily taken off. Okay, alright. Okay, now we have the screws, and to determine the proper size drill bit to set a hole for this to go into, it's got to be smaller than these outside threads. Okay, otherwise the screw won't bite. However, you want it to be just about the same size as the inner part, the shaft of the screw. So basically you hold it up and you give it an eyeball and you look, and this one is just about perfect. They do have, there is gauges and guides that'll tell you what size drill to use, but you know, if you don't have your drills in an index box and you're trying to read the fine engraving that tells you the size, and it slows you down. Okay, take your trusty cordless drill. Okay, just basically running the chuck out. Tighten it up, and we're ready to drill. Now you got to remember that there is a power cable inside of here. You don't want to drill into the cable. So when you're drilling into metal, there's usually a little bit of a catch just before the tip of the drill breaks through. So that's about where we want to stop. Okay, now in addition to the drill, we're going to come back to this center punch, and we're going to punch each one of these holes so that if we try to just drill in, especially into a pipe, that drill bit is going to want to walk and run all around. So we're going to put a little divot in the metal to give that drill bit a good start. And it also, you'll have better life on your drill bits that way too. Okay, and this punch centers very easily in this hole. Give it a good tap. We've got a good divot. And we're actually going to get this one screw in so that we can set this all nice and level. There we go. Keep checking to see how deep the hole is so I don't go pushing through into that wire. Almost there. More help with the punch. There we go. Okay. Whoops. Yeah, it looks like I've broken through. Yep. Now we just got to open it up just a little bit. One hole though. Okay. Now we'll see how easy this goes in. We may have to kind of just go to the next size drill bit. Now there's two options. We can go to the next size drill bit, or you can just take this drill bit very carefully. Use it to chase. You don't want to put force on it, you'll snap the drill bit, especially a small one like this. No. we're going to have to go to the next size drill bit. Okay, alright, so drill a hole. Oh, there's that catch. Okay. Okay, and now put the screw in. And notice I'm putting pressure while on the end of the handle while I'm turning the screw so that I don't strip the head out because it's a little bit rough. Nope. I'm going to have to chase this hole out just a little bit more. All right. There we go. That one was giving me a problem. It was walking. That's when the drill, even though I center punched it, the drill was walking on the pipe. That's why I put my arm around it to give me a little bit more stability. Okay. Now, we'll put these other two screws in. We got to go to the hardware store and get two of those too, because I dropped two of those in the grass. All right. And now we're going to put the top on it. Okay. All right. And the top is on. Okay. If I had the other screw and I don't have to go to the hardware store, I'd put that in now. I'd also put the other two screws in, and the project would actually be done. But being I got to do that, I'm going to finish this up after I make the trip to the hardware store, come back, and I'll let this be the end of the tape so I can not have to set up the camera again. So anyway, that's the installation of a post lamp. Fingerprints on there. Okay, now in handling the pipe, got a few fingerprints. So now we're going to just very carefully, so I don't get overspray on this. I'm going to just slightly. Is that paint? It was not thoroughly dry. It was kind of dry enough to handle, but still in that stage that it's tacky. So I ended up leaving some smudges and marks on it. Okay. And there we have it. Okay, there we have it. That is the post lamp installation. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it's of help. We'll be doing other types of lamps and fixtures, both in interior and exterior. So stay tuned to the channel. This is Professor Drunkle. We'll see you next time.